All right, welcome to another edition of the Hoopmaps podcast. I got my co-host Dante here. In this podcast, we talk about the insights of running hoop maps as well as when we have guests on, we like to get into the world of basketball, whether it's players, coaches, and today we have a special guest. We grew up playing baseball with him, and this is a
Right.
professional coach overseas for the Saigon Heat, coached in Australia, and just a worldly coach. Welcome on, Davis Singleton.
Appreciate it, guys. It's always, a pleasure to get on here, and it's great to see you guys. It's been years since, we really connected. We grew up together playing baseball in Oakland. A rich history of tradition of talented players out there. And it's great to be able to connect back with you guys years later and see that you guys are doing well. So this is good for me.
Yeah, it's interesting because I saw on like Instagram or Facebook or something. I saw you like in Vietnam coaching, and I was like, all right, you're the same age as us. Like, how do a young guy end up being a head coach, a professional coach overseas? Like, how does that happen? Like, what was your trajectory from, your age, to be 26, 27 years old, coaching professional men? Like, did you just give us a history of like, playing to transition to coaching?
Yeah, man, it's a crazy story actually. Growing up, we played all sports. I played baseball, football, and basketball, as you guys know. And so went to Salesian High School, did a good job there. Won championships in both football and basketball. Ended up going to junior college and College of San Mateo in the Bay Area. And ended up playing football. I actually stopped playing basketball, which is crazy. And I just pursued my football career and passion. And then that led me on to getting a scholarship, Division II in Ohio, where I played football there at Tiffin University. I did 2 years there, got all conference honors in football as a wide receiver, and then came back home kind of and, didn't really think I wanted to play football anymore. Didn't really want to pursue the passion to play professionally, and I always had an itch to play basketball, man. I would play in the pickup games with the college team, runs in Ohio back home, and I really missed the game. And at that time, I really didn't know how to get to it, even if I probably could still play professionally. But what I did know is my father, as you guys know, has always been a coach. I have a lot of people in my life that are mentors, that are coaches. And so I thought it was a natural transition for me to start getting into that and giving back to kids and the youth. So I got back coaching right away out of college and into my high school, Salesian. And at that time, they were ranked nationally in the top 10 for like 3 years straight in high school basketball. And so I was blessed to be able to coach 2 seasons there on the varsity level. And from that time, it's a crazy story, man, but our family friend was just finished coaching in Spain. He went to St. Mary's Berkeley High School, and he was a little bit older than us. He's about my brother's age, a little bit older. And he had just got a job in New Zealand as a professional basketball coach there in the new league. And at that time, he didn't have an assistant coach. And he knew our family. He knew my brother. He stayed in touch. And he came to watch a Salesian game, actually, on his break from Spain. And we met up after the game. We spoke on the court. And he just said, hey, man, I see what you're doing here coaching. Would you ever be interested in pursuing the professional side of it? And, at that time, I didn't know anything about it or anything. And I said, he broke it down to me. And I said, why not? I mean, that's something amazing. He said, you want to with me? I was like, New Zealand? I've never been anywhere like that. And, thought about it for a little bit and talked to my family about it. And it was something I really couldn't turn down. It was a lifetime opportunity to explore the world and, get to coach basketball in another country and meet different people and cultures. And probably the best decision I ever made in my life. And I was 26 at the time, like you said. And then from there, things just continued to happen for me,
So,
getting over to Asia and different places. So that's kind of
so
how it started.
was that your first year coaching at Salesian, where your friend where he saw you and he picked you up, or how many seasons you had, actually as a coach before you went
Yeah,
over to New Zealand?
good question. It was 2 seasons. So I did one actually on the JV level, and then I did one on the varsity level. And we were able to get to the NorCal championship that year. We were one game away from the state final, and we lost. So it was a good year. It was a good season. One of my mentors is my coach from Salesian High School, Bill Mellis. He's been there for now 25 plus years. He's been California State Coach of the Year a few times. So he's a great guy for me to, bounce ideas off of, learn from consistently. And it was a good kind of restart for me because I had been away from the game of basketball. Never forgot how to, play it or understanding of the game, but just going from a player to a coach is different. It's very different, and just understanding that side of it, he helped me a lot in that way, and I think it would help me a lot with my transition from coming from the high school to New Zealand, because I always stay in touch with him as much as possible.
Nice. Was there like a culture shock and a language barrier that you have to get over before you got over there first?
Yeah, actually, they do speak English, but the accent is very heavy.
Yeah.
So it's very strong. So sometimes you might think you heard something, or you might, trying to guess what they're saying, but you want to have them repeat it. So you get used to it as time goes on. They have their little slangs and sayings that they say that you kind of have to start getting used to and understanding. And so that was a little difficult, but not too bad. Culturally, nothing really different from that end. I did get a car and I had to drive on the right side. So the first day I got out there, man, Tim being the coach, he's kind of a go get it type of guy. So the first day we had a school visit, and he goes, "Here, take these keys, get in this car, and go drive to the school visit, and go, for an hour and go teach these kids how to play basketball." And I didn't, on the right side. So I just started driving. The first 5 minutes, I almost getting like 2 different accidents. So it was a pretty crazy, kind of just threw me in the fire, right? But outside of that, it's really good people. They have great heritage over there. It was a beautiful city. We're in Nelson, New Zealand, which is right on the water. Beaches everywhere. So it was a great time, a good experience, and there's some hardworking people out there.
So being 26, you was coaching high school kids. Like,
yeah.
I imagine, some of your, players on your roster had to be around the same age, if not older. How did you deal with the whole respect thing, because this is your coach now? Was there any kind of barriers there, or did they embrace you as, your coach?
It's a good question, man. It's something I wouldn't say I struggled with, but I had to go through as a young coach, because the team that I was on, 2 of the greatest New Zealand basketball players were on the team. Okay, so we had an older guy who was a part owner of the team. His name was Phil Jones, one of the greatest shooters in New Zealand history. Played in 3 Olympics, and he was on his last part of his career. Okay, he played all overseas, everywhere. He was 39. Okay, and then we had the national team captain, the current one, and his name was Mika Vukona, and he was playing in the Olympics 3 or 4 times. Again, he was the national team captain on that team while I was coaching. So you have guys like that, and there was a couple others. And so, me coming in as a youngster, they're looking at me like, who's this young guy, right? It's just natural for people to think that way. And so what I just did was I just tried to do whatever I could to be there, to be helpful, right? I assisted in rebounding. I would listen to them. That was a big thing. Instead of trying to tell them things, I would listen, right? Hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to work on today? Is there any areas that you need assistance? Is there any video that you need me to cut up that you want to watch? More so that way, servant type of way, where they can come to me and ask me those type of questions, and I can give them my opinion and responses. But there was definitely times where, you might think that you're getting a message across to them, but they might not be hearing it. But that comes with the sport, right? It's basketball. It's an ego-driven sport. There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different personalities, and that's what makes coaches really good, is trying to figure out how to coach every different person, because all people are different. You can't treat everyone the same. That's something that I truly noticed, have learned over time coaching. Trying to treat everybody the same. You have to understand that individual person and know how exactly to talk to them and treat them. But it's not easy. But if you gain that respect by showing your work ethic and how hard you show up early every day, you stay late every day, again, you're available for these people for things that they need, that's kind of how you gain that respect. And I was able to do that by the end of the season with those guys and build a good rapport. So It was good.
So you're in New Zealand. You know, you coached there for a while, but where I saw you at, like on Instagram and stuff, you're up in Asia. You're up in
Yeah.
Vietnam, up in China. How did you go from New Zealand to up there to Vietnam?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, again, Tim, I owe so much to him. He's a great guy. Got me started, and he brought me in to New Zealand. And then when we left, he ended up leaving to Israel on a job, a very very high level job. It's called Maccabi Tel Aviv. It's one of the, if not the biggest club in Israel, and they play all over internationally. Currently, they have players like Amari Stoudemire, Quincy AC. There's like 3 or 4 NBA guys every year on their team, and they're going to have a top 10 draft pick, a young kid, a 19-year-old coming off their team as well to the NBA. So he ended up getting a job there, but the team in Vietnam had reached out to him for an opening at the same time, and so he said, "Well, I'm not going to go there. I'm gonna take this job here in Israel, of course." And so he knew that, we had just wrapped up our season, no less than a month later. He calls me and he goes, "Hey, I have this opportunity in Vietnam." And I go, Vietnam, I'm thinking, man, I don't know. Like, coming from America, we don't really hear too much about outside of the war, right? And so I was kind of hesitant at first, but I did trust him. And he told me that it wasn't just, coaching in Vietnam, it was actually internationally. And I go, oh, okay, explain. And he says, yeah, you actually get to travel and coach while representing Vietnam against 9 other different countries.
Oh,
So I said, oh, wow, that's interesting. So you get to go to Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Hong Kong. And that sold it all for me at that time. I said, not only do I get to help grow basketball and develop basketball in this country, but I also get to travel the world and, see all these different places. And I said, oh, well, that's really cool. And so I ended up interviewing with those people with the job. He's kind of hooked it up and set it up, and they immediately hired me after the interview, and I was able to get to Vietnam.
nice. How was that experience as far as you notice in the basketball community, like in Singapore, Vietnam? Like, how do people play basketball? Is it similar to how it is in America, where just get a court, start playing, or what's like
Right.
the overall perspective of like the hoop culture out there?
Yeah, it's. I mean, you know what? It's come a long way, even since the time I'm there. So I got there in 2015, and like I was telling before, currently they had just won a bronze medal in the Asian Games, in the Sea Games, and they had never medaled in the history of the sport of basketball in their country. So from all the way in 2015 to now, we have been able to grow the game, bring a lot of new players out there, and really push it at a faster pace than some other countries. But the game is blowing up in Asia. I'll be honest with you. It's something that they hadn't had in years. Maybe China and Philippines were the only real countries that really truly played it. Japan and Korea as well, but when you really think about it, it's a football region, right? It's all about soccer, football, Europe. It's all close there, and they're real big fans of football out there. Okay, there's huge crowds and parades, and they go crazy for football games. But basketball is a growing sport, and the company that I was with is the one that created the basketball platform, whether it was the league and bringing kids over and having the Saigon Heat. They were the ones that created it, and they did a good job of pushing it to the youth. During my time, I did over 100 school visits in Vietnam over the 4 years. And so I just saw the excitement and the joy that it brought to kids. And I'm seeing kids walking down the street dribbling basketballs and doing all these things. So it kind of became a craze where these people really loved it. But they love the game. It's a huge deal. Kids are outside playing it all the time, probably more outside than inside, to be honest with you. There's always constantly pickup games and runs. No matter how the conditions of the court, those kids are out there playing. In some of the worst situations that you probably could imagine, they love the game. So it's something good to see. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to build, and I think that it's only going to go up from here. As far as the style of play, it's a little bit different. They're still learning the game. Some of the kids, right? As we get to learn it as a young kid against very talented kids. So it's kind of like if you if you're not working on your game, you're going to get passed up quickly, and it'll show you on the court against those guys. And so it's a faster paced game. It's a little bit wild per se, but like I said, as it continues to grow and more Americans and international coaches get out there and continue to teach and train these kids and develop the local coaches as well, which I was able to do. The game you will see it will continue to get better and better and better in Asia.
That's interesting from our standpoint because we create a platform for pickup games. So like me and Dante, we always talked about like Asia because like once we first started the app, actually the Philippines was one of the biggest, hottest growing area for us. And it's interesting though because your resume, right? So like as a professional coach, you mentioned like film development, you mentioned going to schools out there in Australia and doing camps and stuff out in Vietnam. How do you see yourself, professionally, career wise? You plan on going more international route? I know you're in Canada now, or do you plan on, going domestic and whether that's the college, G League, NBA? Tell me what your goals is moving forward.
Yeah, no, it's something that's good, man. To be honest, so it's good. It's a good question. Probably my first 3 to 4 years in, I really didn't have an idea what I wanted to do. I kind of was just going with whatever happened next for me and kind of just feeling it out that way. But most recently, I really realized, you know what, like you got to have, like you said, you got to have a goal. You got to write stuff down. You got to have a vision, somewhat of a dream, whatever you want to do. And being able to meet so many different coaches and talk to so many different guys and seeing what their, aspirations are and stuff and motivations are. And I really, realized that I want to be back in the States and I want to be at the highest levels as possible because I know, what I have and I believe in myself and what I can do. And so I think my ultimate goal in the end is to be NBA assistant coach in the NBA. It's the most realistic thing for me. If things happen more than that and it becomes a head coach, then great. But that's something that I really want to push towards and make that happen for my life moving forward. Unfortunately, the virus kind of, stopped a little bit of my plans this summer. I was going to go to the, Las Vegas, connect with many different coaches over there at the Summer League. One of my really good friends who's in the business works in the front office for the Philadelphia 76ers. So I was going to, hang out with him for a week out there and try to connect with some people over there. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But hopefully we can do it again next summer. But in the meantime, right now, I think overseas is a good situation for me until I find that right situation back in the States. Because one thing I do know is I don't want to just jump into anything that I don't really believe in or that's right for me. I want to make sure that it's right. And what I have been able to do is build a pretty good resume and relationships overseas. And so if I'm able to continue to, make decent money, continue to gain experience, moving up the ladder in overseas basketball, then I'm going to continue to do that until I find that right situation back in the States.
Nice. Now, do you actually still play the game, like football, basketball, baseball? You still get out there and just yourself, go out there and play?
I do, man. I talk about this a lot, actually. So the last 3 seasons I was in the international league in Vietnam. We've had, we have injuries throughout the course of the year. We have guys who, hey, give you a night off type of deal, and we still need to practice, right? We're still got to get the work in, and so whether it's 3-on-3 or 5-on-5, if we don't have enough guys, I'll throw a jersey on, and I always bring my shoes with me. So I've been in a couple of practices, man. I've been in a couple of battles, and I've done, I've always held my own. I'm still, I still work out. I work out with the guys. I still stay in shape, and so I'm able to play. And when I come back home to the Bay Area, I play in a lot of pickup runs out there. I try to stay as fit and as young as possible because we're only getting older, man. So I'm just trying to do that as much as possible. Just recently, actually, because of the quarantine out here in Canada, we had to keep a couple guys in a little bit longer in quarantine for further testing. So we ended up only having 9 guys that practice. So the day I was there, I ended up having to throw a jersey on and practice over here for one day.
Oh, nice. You still got it? Are you catching up with
Man, you know, it's funny. It's funny as a coach, sometimes I don't want the players to see that side of me because, I'm very competitive and I don't want to get, I don't want to have that kind of different feeling, but they know I can still play. I'll let them know sometimes. I'll come down and shoot a 3 and hit it in their face. I'll get a steal and I'll let them know, what type of player I used to be, right? But at the same time, with the whole situation, number one, I don't want to get anybody hurt. So I don't want to be the guy that did anything wrong with somebody. And then number 2, I like to just, because I'm a coach, I like to see how the practice works. I want to make sure that it flows correctly. So I like to pass a lot, right? Make sure that these guys are getting the shots, these guys are getting the looks, and not, try to be the guy that's out there shooting the ball or trying to, go one-on-one and stuff like that. So, I'll let they know. You've asked a lot of the teams and players I've been with, they all understand that I can still play the game a little bit. So, yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Well, Dante, you got anything else to add?
Nah, man, just good seeing, it's been a while since we played baseball, man. So it's good seeing where you at. This is a very interesting route that you took, and we don't really see a lot of guys taking that route. So, I just like to say congratulations and much success, man, because this is kind of cool just sitting back. You get to visit different countries, coaching, doing your passion. So I just like to see it, man. It's pretty cool.
I appreciate that, man. And you guys, man, I've told this to Dominic, I think what you guys are doing is amazing as well, man. I really appreciate you guys reaching out to me. I think the idea that you guys came up with and what you guys have going there, I think it's sky's the limit for it. And continue to do what you guys are doing. It's always good to see people, that we grew up with, coming from Oakland, and guys doing, good things, right, for society, for themselves, and doing well. And so I'm very proud to see you guys doing what you're doing. And, man, I hope to talk to you guys again.
Cool. There you have it. Davis Singleton, coaching right now out in Canada, but a professional coach overseas and, future assistant head coach.
There you go.
Assistant head coach in the NBA soon. So, David, thanks for sitting down and talking with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.